Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. So in this video, I just want to talk about a couple trades that I've made over the past month, PLCE and also IOVA. These were both swing trades, so I was holding these stocks for multiple days. And what's cool is I was also traveling throughout this period. On February 14th, I flew to Tokyo, spent a day there. It was basically a layover. Next day, flew to Singapore and met up with my business partner, Andrew. We spent a few days in Singapore, and then I flew down to Bali with him, and we spent another 4 nights there or so. And then I also flew home through South Korea and checked out Seoul on the way. So all these trades were done while traveling, which just shows how efficient the strategy is. It can really be done whether you're working a 9 to 5 or you're running your business. It doesn't really matter because it takes such little time and it's so efficient. First trade was PLCE. We originally sent out a trade plan in the private Discord channel, and I made a trade alert saying that I was entering. In terms of why we bought, the stock fell 37% about a week before because the company announced preliminary earnings and the need for raising additional capital. But then a few days later, Saudi investors purchased a lot of the stock. They made that Form 4 filing. We decided to hold for 30 days unless we made roughly 24%, because that is essentially the level where data shows that if we can reach that level before 30 days, it makes sense to sell. And this level varies from stock to stock. It all depends on that stock's individual volatility. More volatile stocks, we're going to hold longer for a bigger gain. So in the end, there was no drawdown for the trade. Essentially, investors became excited about that Saudi investment. And the next day after the initial purchase, there was news of more purchases. And that's when the stock went up 182% on the 15th. So we ended up selling after a 75% gain and 100% gain and like a 50% gain. So taking into account all the take profits, we basically made 75% total. And only 25% of the account was allocated towards the trade. So overall, we made roughly 19%. And we only held the stock for about 2 days. This is kind of what the chart looked like. So you can see basically on day one, we entered, we made that 9% little bump. And then the next day is when it went up that 182%. We actually sold relatively early. Further optimization needs to be done for this strategy to try to juice out the bigger gains. But then again, 75% in 2 days, pretty good still. And what's cool with this trade, like I said, I was traveling throughout this period. So on the 14th, I woke up and bought this stock, went back to bed, woke up again, I was up at 9%. Later that day, went to the airport, flew to Tokyo, which took about probably 7 hours. And then I got in the evening, started exploring the city. And when I got back to my hotel at around 10 p.m., the stock market was about to open. And that's when the stock went up that 182%. And I made that 75%, which was pretty fun. So now let's talk about the second trade. This was IOVA. This one was cool because I had explored Singapore. There was not much going on trading wise while we were in Singapore, but when we flew to Bali, probably on the second or third night we were there, we were out for dinner and I noticed multiple insiders purchased IOVA and all the parameters were met for a multi-day hold trade again. And so I bought in that evening, stock went crazy, and the next day went crazy again. First, on the 20th of February, there was some positive news relating to the FDA and getting approval for one of their products. After the news, the company issued a stock offering and then several insiders took part in it. What I found is that if companies issue a stock offering and then the insiders take part in it, there's a very high probability that very positive news will come out within a 30-day period. And my theory here is that the issuance of a stock offering basically masks illicit actions under the guise of a legitimate transaction. Because if insiders issue a stock offering, not only can they issue shares at a cheaper price and then buy in at that cheaper price, but it basically provides an excuse to buy, because now the reason for buying is not that they have this insider information, it's that they're just issuing a stock offering and they're participating just like anyone else could. That theory, coupled with the data that it commonly happens, is just super interesting, and it's something I'm going to continue paying a lot of attention to, and we'll see if the live trading results stack up to what I've been seeing historically. So far, so good though. Because all the parameters were met, we allocated 25% of the account. The estimated gain was 12% within a 30-day period. And so if we had more than a 12% gain, we were going to take profits sooner. And like PLCE, there was no drawdown. Stock rose 31% the next day. And we actually exited this trade for roughly 30% gain. This is a little outdated here. And what's interesting with this trade is, I believe the stock is continually rising here. So we basically bought in right here at the open, and then we sold somewhere up here, but the stock has actually continued to make new highs. So we'll have to see if our early take profit actually was the right option, or maybe holding for that 30 days was good. As I said, we still got a bit of work to do optimizing the early take profit system. So here's the results so far for the strategy. We've only been doing live trading for a little more than a month, but we also have several years of backtested results, which are showing a lot of consistency. Historically, I know that the reputation for backtests is that they're typically inaccurate. There's a lot of bias, but for us, that hasn't been the case. The backtests for all of our strategies have been very accurate. So here's the trades up till this point. We've taken about 10 trades so far. Here's the entry dates, the exit dates for the ones that we've actually exited. These are the returns so far for each trade. It's pretty crazy. If you add it up, it's actually 179%. But like I said, we only allocate 25% to each. So these are the true returns. That said, there's a lot of situations here where we could have had our full account or half of the account in some of these trades because there weren't multiple positions on. So that's another thing that I need to optimize. It's the early take profits, like I was saying earlier, but also better allocation rules. If we can figure out which trades are more likely to increase, then we can put more money into them and potentially increase returns that way rather than just doing 25% each time. I've already kind of started experimenting with that with this 10% move right here. Either way, 45% in a little more than a month is pretty good. This is the potential dollar returns that you might make depending on how much money you're trading with. So if you have $10,000, then 45% of that's around $4,500 after 37% capital gains tax, which is the most you'll pay. If you have to be making like more than $500K a year to be taxed at that bracket, otherwise it could be between 22 and 37%. But even after that tax, that's what you'd have. And obviously the more money you have, the more money you can make. So in this month, a little more than a month here, you would have made around $283,000 if you had $1 million to trade with after taxes, assuming you're taxed at that max bracket. So again, our fee for learning our strategies, this is only one of them, is $7,500. I know some people initially think that price is high, but hopefully running you through the math here just shows that it's a pretty damn good deal if you just take the trades that we're outlining. And also, as long as you have enough capital. Again, if you only have like $10,000, again, we only work with people who have at least $30,000 to trade with, and really $50,000 is a better number to be able to get your return back faster. Anyway, if this is interesting to you, if you want to learn more about the strategies, you're interested in joining the program, just book a call with me or my founding partner, Ryan, below, and we can answer all your questions, and we'll invite you to the program if it's a good fit.